Hello everyone, please press subscribe, press follow, press the bell so you don't miss any new clips. Adorable treasured fox divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Author by Co Chi Yi. Audio novels by Novelist. Chapter 221, Spoiling Her, 5. First was the fact that her precious granddaughter was able to demonstrate a power at the monarch level. It must be mentioned that their Lu Huo kingdom only has a king-rank master as its strongest protector. So, for the girl to reach a level superior to that in a few short years, how can she not be frightened with shock? Then behold, before her heart could come to terms with the explosive news, Daikang's tyrannical aura takes another whack at her already dissipating soul. All in all, old Madame Lan can be said to have received over 4 major blows to her frail heart. First was Mu King Song barging into their home and revealing her identity. Second was Bai Yan showcasing her extraordinary powers. Then thirdly was Daikang's near suffocating aura of oppressive might. Now, last but not least, she's watching her granddaughter getting so intimate with a man in front of her eyes. If that's not enough to make the old grandmother go limp in her legs, then what else can she do? I will be away for a few days. Daikang didn't pay any heed to the departing members of the Lan family. Using an almost growling voice, if you need something, have my people inform me. Taken aback by the news, Bai Yan subconsciously asked, when will you return? Only after saying this did she regret her own folly. What am I talking about? Why would I care about when he's coming back like a little wife? Seeing the embarrassed look on the woman, Daikang's lip quickly curved into a smirk. I need to find a person. If I don't find her, I speculate she would be sold as a slave and still help her slaver count the money. Bai Yan did not say anything, but the thin line making up her tightened lips easily gave away her true feelings. You are not going to ask me who that person is? His voice getting deeper like he demands it. And what does that have to do with me? Bai Yan hurriedly swings her head around, obviously disgruntled by the fact. Acting as if he didn't hear that, Daikang continues without her permission, I'm going to look for Xiaoqin's little auntie. Xiaoqin's little auntie. Then that means the girl is his sister. Startled by the information, Bai Yan swiftly comes back around and asked with sincerity, do you need my help to look? No need. Maybe it's due to her increased interest. Daikang's mood was very pleased by it. I have my ways to locate her. Alerted by their conversation, Bai Xiaoqin quickly toddled over to ask with his big innocent eyes, is it true that I got a new auntie? Will she like me like uncle does? She wouldn't dare. Daikang sounded very confident in his statement, if she dares to not like you, I will rope her up and start hitting her hind while she dangles there. Ellipsis. Not far away inside a certain valley, a young maiden was currently having a huge sneezing fit. Rubbing her nose, she got the aching suspicion that someone was talking behind her back. It's all state teacher's fault for not telling me where my brother is. Now I got to go around looking for them. Puffing up her cheeks, that pinkish hue was truly adorable. I wonder if my brother has managed to woo my sister-in-law over yet. The more the young maiden thought about it, the grumpier the girl became. Using the stick she found, she begins stabbing the poor fishies in the pond to vent her steam while imagining the state teacher's handsome face. Ellipsis. Inside the courtyard of the Lan family's estate, Daikang was in the middle of giving Bai Yan a tender kiss while embracing the woman of his life. I will be back soon, so be good while I'm away. Having said this, he finally released the woman and gave his son a quick scruffle on the head before taking his leave. Mother, did you really want to leave with me just now? Watching the departing back of his father, Bai Xiaoqin innocently asked his mother here. Going stiff in the body, Bai Yan could only exhale a sigh. This isn't your father's fault, he's also innocent, so I never blamed him for it. Then why did you say that then? Scratching his cute little head, Bai Xiaoqin became perplexed by the contradiction. Truth is, I only wanted to see what sort of attitude he would make. Then how did Baddie father do? Naive in his gaze, Bai Xiaoqin had placed his mother on the spotlight by doing this. He did quite well, her smile genuinely happy. Chapter 222, Will you like him in the future? He did quite well. Tilting his cute little head in puzzlement, Bai Xiakan looks up with those bright starry eyes of his. Mother, have you accepted Baddie Father then? No, I did not. She refutes it with a shake of her head. Then will you like him in the future? I don't know. Bai Yan went quiet for a moment. Slowly raising her stunning head to face that crystal blue sky, a faint smile escapes her. How can I predict what I don't know? Come son, let us go back home. Okay, he happily nods and ran into his mother's embrace. However, the pair only managed to take a few steps out of the estate before Bai Xiakan recalled he was here to bring Auntie Xuanhuan over to choose a fox. Wrinkling his baby face, he was practically moping in his voice, Mother, I need to make a second run back inside. Leaving only this behind, Bai Xiakan struggled free from his mother's arms and ran inside without turning his head even once. Ellipsis. It's widely recognized that the Music Valley was on equal standing to the flower brothel, and in some cases, their reputation supersedes their counterpart. Yet, in a single night, news of the Music Valley's destruction came sweeping over like a storm, catching Bai Ruo completely off guard today. How could this be? Due to the sudden act of climbing up from her bed, the wound on her body became torn again. Gasping at the sharp pain, Lu Yue, is this news reliable? The palace maid called Lu Yue respectfully replied, Crown Princess, this matter is absolutely true. Everyone in the entire kingdom now knows about it. Even that former mistress of the Music Valley now belongs to the flower brothel and is currently up for grabs for those willing to pay. Because of this reason, countless high-standing lords are rushing over there just to catch a glimpse of the lady. Going pale in her complexion, Bai Ruo closed her eyes as her hands clenched into a tight ball. I understand, you can leave me now. Yes, Crown Princess. Giving a slight bow, the maid retreats in an orderly fashion. With only her alone now, Bai Ruo had fallen into a daze-like state for a very long time. Perhaps it's due to the shockingness of the news, even she was unwilling to believe it. How can Bai Yan have that kind of courage? Is she not afraid of Daikang's fury? Does she think she can do whatever she wants just because she's in favor? Her pondering mind was all over the place during this period. But once she's come to terms with what's going on in her crooked mind, a freaky smile could be seen on that grotesque face. Someone come, prepare the sedan for me. I'm heading out. I must verify the news myself. Ellipsis. The Bai house may have fallen into decay, but Bai Ruo was still the crown princess of the kingdom. Therefore, whenever her sedan moved across the streets, the civilians would consciously move aside to make room for her. Before long, she has arrived at her destination. Once inside the establishment after much difficulty, she can see clearly now through the rampant crowd of guests that a stunning woman was tied to a pillar. Obviously the lady had lost her initial air of a goddess. In its place, only regret and a constant glimmer of deep pain could be found in those eyes. One glance, that's all it took for Bai Ruo to collapse. Crown Princess. The palace maid hurries to support her mistress after seeing that incessant shiver. Bai Yan sure have guts. But why isn't Daikang coming out yet when she's made such a big commotion? Chapter 223, Bai Ruo's Jealousy. Grabbing the maid's supporting hand with her own, Bai Ruo's voice was trembling with unease as she asked. However, before she could get a proper answer, the rowdy voices of the crowd had answered her question. This supposed mistress of the Music Valley sure is beautiful, to think she would also be a cheap bitch like all the rest. No matter, I will still be willing to buy her first time just for that outstanding appearance alone. Oh, why would you say that? You don't know yet. Mu King Song fancied Lord Kang, but because she was rejected, the woman instead turned her fury at the land house. That's how she became like this. She angered Lord Kang. Pausing for a moment to look around, the man speaking here then issued a sniggering laugh, and as it so happens, I was here when Lord Kang's men threw her into the flower brothel. Even the destruction of the Music Valley was done at the order of the sovereign prince. It seems this Lord Kang really is loyal and faithful. For that Bai Yan, he's willing to reject even a fine trophy like this Mu King Song. Jay, you can't say it like that. Sure. This new king song is indeed beautiful, but compared to Bai Yan, there's still a gap. If I were the one to choose, I would of course take Bai Yan over this cheap woman. Nevertheless, I'm still willing to use her as my mistress. Ellipsis. Bai Ruo's body was ready to collapse at this point. Fortunately, the maid behind her managed to support that crumbling body in time. Crown Princess. The voice sounded very concerned. I am fine, we will go back. First closing her eyes, Bai Ruo eventually reopened them again after coming to terms with the reality. Just that, those shaking legs cannot hide the horror coursing through her veins. My husband loves me so much, yet he still has a few concubines. Besides, as long as they are male, they will be more inclined to be good to a beauty. So why would Dai Kang ignore such a temptation for Bai Yan? How can such a man be Bai Yan's? Perhaps it's due to the woman's wish to ease her mood. Bai Ruo didn't ride her sedan. Instead, she walked aimlessly through the streets for the palace. Just that, due to her divided attention, she had unintentionally bumped into a passing girl while wandering. Boom. It's unsure why the young maiden was so strong, but Bai Ruo felt like she was hitting into a wall instead of a person. Stumbling backwards, she immediately took to the ground and ripped open her wounds again. Crown Princess. Alarmed by the fall, the palace maid as well as the escorting soldiers were quick to react. While the maid took to helping her mistress, the guards quickly surrounded the maiden. How dare you? This is Her Royal Highness the Crown Princess that you bumped into. Dai Xuanhuan, Dai Kang's sister, originally wanted to say sorry after colliding with someone, but after the abrupt scolding from the guards, her proud nature instantly flared up. She didn't look where she was going, so how can she blame anyone? She snorts, knocking her head high. Impudent. The complexion of the guards were getting uglier by the second. Just as they were ready to make a move, Bai Ruo's hollering voice stopped them. Hold it. Slowly climbing up from the ground, Bai Ruo's beautiful eyes were clearly focused on the badge token tied to the girl's waist. That badge looks very nice, mind showing me? What? Dai Xuanhuan immediately snatched up her precious item like a protective hen. Chapter 224, Where's My Brother? A rippling smile appears out of Bai Ruo's mouth. Please don't misunderstand, I'm only asking because I happened to see it somewhere before. She did happen to see it. A peerless man like Dai Kang cannot be resisted by any woman, including those who are married like herself. As such, during the first few years of the man's arrival in this kingdom, she would often accidentally appear in places where Dai Kang would be, pretending to be a passerby while sneaking a few glances here and there. That's when she noticed this token with the letter, Yao, demon, on it. To think I would see it again on a young girl like this. The young maiden grew excited. You've seen this token? Where is he? Smiling deeply again, Bai Ruo knew she's had the girl. I'm a friend. May I know your relationship with him? Friend. Impossible. My older brother hates women the most. Of course, aside from my sister-in-law that is. Just thinking of how she will soon meet her sister-in-law and cuddly little nephew, Dai Xuanhuan would smile from within her hearts. Even if a man hates the female sex, there's bound to be some special existences eventually, is it not so? Bai Ruo continues to sway the young girl in her way. Shaking her head, Dai Xuanhuan refutes it completely. There's been no shortages of the female sex trying to woo my brother, but never once had he gotten close to any of them, let alone become friends. To what extent does that phobia applies to? It's to the point where Dai Kang wouldn't allow even a single person to draw within 100 meters of his own existence. Nowadays, not a single woman, in some cases the male side too, wouldn't dare to get close to Dai Kang back in the demon realm. What I said is true. Bai Ruo's expression was starting to change for the worse. Nevertheless, she continues to force a smile using that soft tone of hers, and, I can bring you to him. Biting her fingernail, Dai Xuanhuan appears to be struggling at the idea, but when I left home, state teacher specifically told me not to follow anyone I don't know, or else. Why don't I give you my address and you can have him come find me instead? If I went with this woman, state teacher would certainly be very angry with me. Seeing how insufferably hard it was to convince this wrench, Bai Ruo herself too was starting to get impatient. If it was any other time, she would have slapped the girl on the spot by now if not for Daikang's connection. Suddenly, she noticed a familiar figure coming from the front. Hurrying to call out, she didn't mind the fact that her voice sounded a tad sharp there, Ji. Ever since that incident inside the palace with the rod punishment occurred, Bai Ji haven't been able to make contact with her elder sister. Therefore, tears immediately came flowing out as soon as she did so. Sister, Bai Yan is too hateful. Not only did she cripple father, she's also framing mother of cheating behind the scenes. Nowadays, father would constantly beat her like it's true. What should I do? What is even more odious is the fact that Daikang would defend that bitch Bai Yan still. I don't get what she gave him to cause such a reaction. What? Bai Ruo's complexion had gone white. Father is actually hitting mother. I will return home in 2 days with my husband. Only after wiping some of her tears did Bai Ji turn towards the beautifully pleasant girl behind the group. Sister, who is this woman? Turning sharp as soon as she heard the question, Bai Ruo was clearly up to no good. She is Daikang's sister. I promised to take her to her brother. As it so happens, I'm currently busy, so I will hand the job over to you. Chapter 225. Did anyone seduce my brother? This girl is so hard to deal with, why should I keep tangling with her? Moreover, Ji is so deeply in love with Daikang. Perhaps this is an opportunity. As long as the sister is done deal, there's no way Daikang wouldn't take Ji then. Lord Kang's sister. Startled for a second, Bai Ji quickly lit up. Sister, you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Miss, you may not be familiar with our kingdom since you only just arrived here. Let me be the host and show you around, how about it? Bai Ji readily offers herself to the girl. Xuanhuan was clearly displeased by the idea. I want to see my brother. Still showing a bright smile like that rude reply didn't register at all. Your brother isn't around in the city recently. When he returns, I'll be sure to inform him right away. Alright, I hope you aren't deceiving me. Knocking her chin up, Xuanhuan was showing the same arrogant attitude like her big bro. If I find out you people are deceiving me, I will make you regret it for the rest of your lives. Not willing to stay any longer after that threat, Bai Ruo gives her sister a quick wink. I still have things I need to attend to in the palace. This girl, I'm leaving her to you. Having said this, she quickly left, not minding the bleeding wound behind her back the entire way. Ignoring the fleeing woman, Xuanhuan was clearly suspicious here of the new girl. What is your relationship with my brother? She can ignore the one from before because Bai Ruo was a married woman, but this one was a different case. Lowering her head shyly, Bai Ji starts twiddling with her fingers. I and him, what are you doing? Without so much as a word, Xuanhuan had placed her nose up to Bai Ji's body and started to sniff her. I smell the scent of an animal in heat. Retracting her head, this was all she had to say. From green to white, then from white to green, Bai Ji's expression was like a blinking light. This damn bitch, how dare she insult me like that? And say I'm an animal in heat. If she's not Daikang's sister, I would have killed her by now for that sentence alone. Miss Dai, what are you talking about? How could I be in heat? Showing an awkward smile, Bai Ji attempts to explain herself. Stabbing her fists against her waist, Xuanhuan puts on a proud and arrogant attitude like her brother. Then tell me, is there any woman who is seducing my brother in this place? Bai Ji originally wanted to refuse to answer this question, but suddenly, Bai Yan's face appeared in her mind. Sneaking a sinister sneer, she grew excited. Of course. My sister Bai Yan is not only seducing Lord Kang, she's also lying to your brother about her child being his. Now, in order to be responsible, your brother is taking care of another man's son because of deceit and lie. Let's see how you will marry Daikang after offending his sister. Her smile gleefully cheeky. Unfortunately for Bai Ji, the long-awaited response never came. Instead, it was a face full of surprise and a tinge of delight reflected in those eyes. You said, my brother can mistake a child for his. This is impossible. Us demon beasts can recognize our kind by the scent alone. How can my brother mistake his own child? Unable to understand her own folly, Bai Ji only nods her head repeatedly. Bai Yan is a scheming whore. If not for her lying deceit, Lord Kang never would have taken her and that bastard child. Before she can finish her statement, Bai Ji suddenly noticed a tiny familiar figure walking through the streets not far away. Normally such a small child would be difficult to catch among the crowd, but because of that cuddly face and dollish appearance, it was easy to garner the attention of others. Chapter 226, I'm your auntie. Miss Dai, it's that child over there. Lighting up in her eyes, Bai Ji directly points to the unsuspecting kid. It's that bastard child. Bai Yan is using that brat to force and trick Lord Kang. Following the finger to the indicated direction, Dai Xuanhuan's line of sight eventually fell upon Bai Xiaoqin's cute little face. First there was shock over how adorable the child was, then came an unstoppable force of ecstasy. In her haste, Dai Xuanhuan completely forgot to mind her manners and pounced at the poor kid. While in the background, Bai Ji was still smiling devilishly due to her own foolish mistake of not paying attention. Bai Yan, Bai Xiaoqin, I won't let either of you get off so easily for ruining me. Ellipsis. Sister Yi, do you know when Godfather is coming? A bit sulky in his voice, Bai Xiaoqin was apparently having an episode of missing his three shifers and Godfather. I have already written to my brother. If he knows your real father is here, he will surely rush over. Shining in her eyes as she said this, Chu Yi, Holy Land's young lady, firmly believes Bai Yan wouldn't be snatched away if her brother arrives. Now it was Bai Xiaoqin who became hesitant. If Godfather comes, would he start a fight with my baddie father? By then, who am I supposed to help? While the baby boy was struggling to make up his mind, a powerful gust of wind had knocked him off his feet and snatched the boy right up. It was a young girl with a set of messy-looking hair. Before anyone can do a thing to stop this, the person had already sent a smooch at that cuddly face. Naturally, Bai Xiaoqin would become paralyzed over the sudden assault. Mainly due to how scared he was by the act, he didn't know how to react to the kiss and froze there. What are you doing? Exploding over this, Chu Yi immediately snatched the assailant up by the collar and growled menacingly, where did a wild girl like you come from? How dare you bully my little Xiaoqin? If it was in the past, Dai Xuanhuan would have definitely broken out into a fight with anyone who would dare offend her like this. However, all her attention was solely focused on the kid in her arms. You are called Xiaoqin. Can I also call you that too? Blinking with confusion and startlement, Bai Xiaoqin was at a loss on how to reply. This was honestly the first time he's been cuddled up without indication. Just when Chu Yi wanted to start making a move to break this up, the assailant somehow managed to beat her to the punch with those pitiful eyes. Little Xiaoqin, don't you know me? Completely stunned by the question, should I know her? This auntie, Bai Xiaoqin's expression appeared to be tangled. Are you sure you aren't mistaking me for someone else? I don't know you. Dai Xuanhuan was ready to cry at this point over the maltreatment. She had gone through thick and thin to get to the mortal world, with the help of the state teacher of course. But now that she's finally here, the target of her delight claims that he doesn't know her. More importantly, how much suffering and pain did she experience along this journey? Did she get it easy? Of course not. In the end, all her efforts only yielded a, I don't know you. Seeing the tearing up face of the girl embracing himself, Bai Xiaoqin immediately softened. Maybe we did meet in the past. Might just be my memories not being so good. Can you remind me of when we met? Sure enough, Dai Xuanhuan quickly went from sad to absolutely delight. Wiping away those tears, she revealed a glorious smile. I am your auntie. How can you forget me? On this sunny day that should have gone without a hitch or incident, Bai Xiaoqin had for the first time in his short little life become electrocuted by another person's dumbness. What, forget her? This is clearly, without a single doubt, their first time meeting. Okay. Chapter 227, Dai Xuanhuan vs Xuanhuan. If anyone were to be more stupefied here, it would have to be Chu Yi. I've just been robbed in the face. Just thinking of this point would cause her rosy face to flush with anger. What did you say? Little Xuanhuan is not your nephew. He can only be mine, you hear? I don't want to be your sister anymore, call me auntie all right. This last part would of course be meant for Bai Xuanhuan. After stating this much, Chu Yi didn't forget to shoot a provocative stare at her opponent. Now it was Dai Xuanhuan to become mystified. When did my brother accept another sister? By now Bai Xuanhuan was already cherry red in his cheeks after suppressing himself all this time. Sister Yi is my godfather's sister, not my baddie father's. Baddie father. This name is too suitable for him. Dai Xuanhuan couldn't resist another pinch at that squiggly face. Your face is exactly like my brother's when he was young, just that you are more sensible and more polite. Way better than he is at your age. In all seriousness, Dai Xuanhuan really had trouble believing this clever and adorable little child was his old brother's seed. Finding the girl willfully ignoring herself repeatedly, Chu Yi was ready to flare out at this point. But before then, she made sure to first snatch the little guy over to her side for protection. Hey, what are you doing? Dai Xuanhuan shoots a glare at Chu Yi for stealing her darling of a nephew. Return my nephew to me. I'm not giving. What can you do? Chu Yi proudly makes a grunt to showcase her terrible might of being unreasonable. If based solely on appearance, Chu Yi and Dai Xuanhuan are not of the same type. The former being the charming young girl type while the latter was the sweet and beautiful. However, their temper are one and the same, the type to explode upon contact. As such, finding someone trying to steal her precious nephew away, Dai Xuanhuan's face was starting to show off a pang of true anger. You want to fight, is it? Come. Which weapon would you like to use? Or do you want to go barehanded? I will even let you have the first strike. Sensing the dangerous aura oozing out of the pair, the innocent bystanders were very conscious in relocating themselves to a safer location, thus leaving a wide open space for their brawl. Now Bai Xuanhuan had become anxious. First looking at Chu Yi, then back at his newfound auntie, the baby boy didn't know who to help. Wah! That's when the baby boy broke out into a screaming cry. It's not a scheme, not a trick, just a simple yet effective mean for any kid to grab attention from their adults. Hey, why are you pushing me? Chu Yi really wanted to pop in her chest due to all the steam pent up in there. He's my nephew, so I'm enough to comfort him. Dai Xuanhuan made sure to give her nephew a comforting hug to prove her ownership. Grinning at the claim, Chu Yi clearly thought otherwise. He's your nephew now, but that may not necessarily be the case later on, the annoyed girl retorts. Don't you know Bai Yan still haven't accepted your brother yet? On the contrary, my brother have stayed by Bai Yan's side for years, so his hope of winning the beauty home is leagues ahead of yours. Dai Xuanhuan was literally popping her eyes at the news. It can't be, my brother is that much of a loser. Then I don't care. My brother is little Xuanhuan's biological father, thus making me his auntie regardless. Blood cannot be changed. The panicking girl was literally screaming the last part to reassure herself. Now Chu Yi didn't feel quite the same. In her defense, she never once thought of the baby boy as an outsider, so blood didn't matter to her. Now that don't matter to me. Even if my brother do become useless like yours, Xuanhuan will still be my nephew regardless of blood. Chapter 228, Dai Xuanhuan vs Lan Xiaoyan 2. Looking at the two people who will not agree with each other, Bai Xuanhuan was rather sad over this fact. Do they not see me crying? Why are they not stopping yet? Little Xuanhuan, since arguing wasn't getting anywhere, the next best option would be to bribe the target. In one swift swing of her hands, Dai Xuanhuan had unraveled her satchel for the baby boy. This is all my belonging. Although it's not some gold or silver, the stuff inside should still fetch a pretty penny once you barter it off at the shop. This is my gift to you for our first meeting. Not hesitating either after seeing her foe's blatant act of bribery, Chu Yi also pulled out her storage ring for the baby boy. This is for you too, it's my personal storage ring containing all my valuables. For an instant there, Bai Xuanhuan was at a loss on what to do as he eyed the two storage items in his tiny palm. You want to compete with me? Scoffing a laugh of annoyance, Xuanhuan immediately blew a whistle with her fingers. A minute later, a white streak of light had sliced through the sky to land directly on the ground. Boom! Waiting until the crowd regained their composure from the grand entry, a white fluttering figure had caught their attention like a magnet. Dazzling under the beaming light of the sun, this white phoenix was glorious to the eye. This is a white phoenix that I caught on my way here. Little Xuanhuan, I can see you are lacking in a mount, so this will do for now. Patting the phoenix on the head, Xuanhuan gave no illusions about her ownership. However, the white phoenix is but the lowest of the low in the phoenix family. When there's time, I will find you another better one. Phoenix. Mount. Looking at the sweet and pretty face of the young maiden, only a dumbfounded look can be found on the faces of the crowd. Although the white phoenix breed was of the lowest in terms of lineage, but it's still of noble descent. Instead of cherishing it like a treasure, she's going to toss it aside when there's time to find another one. Grumbling at the flaunting act of wealth, Xuanhuan had no choice but to admit defeat on this end. Forget about taming a phoenix, she can't even tame a simple garden bird, okay? Auntie, Sister Yi, my mother have always taught me since childhood that a gentleman can love money, but they cannot take what is not theirs. These gifts are too valuable, I cannot take them. Giving the storage ring and storage bag in his hand a one final glance, Xuanhuan can only reluctantly return the prizes to their rightful owners. Seeing the disappointed expression on Xuanhuan's face, the baby boy's clever mindset once again shined in this situation. However, Auntie, I will take this phoenix since it's your meeting gift to me. I do need a ride anyways. In truth, if he had wanted a white phoenix to use as his mount, his mother would have brought one to him long ago. Just that he didn't want to hurt the girl, hence the reason why he would take the bird despite not needing one. Sure enough, it worked. Showing a gloating smile, Xuanhuan immediately shot a taunting face at Xuanhuan to send the girl jumping with steam. Sister Yi, Xuanhuan's face was beaming a heartwarming smile. Though I didn't take your gift, but I still like you and Godfather a lot. No matter what choice my mother makes in the future, you will always be my family. What a sensible child. The surrounding onlookers were all sighing helplessly after watching. First was that phrase of not taking what's not yours, only a properly educated child can utter something so good. Now he's also comforting his elders for the sake of others. Such a well-behaved child, who can bear to harm such a darling. While some were mumbling this inside their heart, some were less inclined to keep their thoughts to themselves and outright said it aloud. If Xuanhuan can educate her son to such an extent, she can't be bad like what the Bai family says. Besides, that family merely sold this good child back then, and also set him on fire because he wouldn't agree. Chapter 229, Xuanhuan vs Lan Xiaoyan 3. Xuanhuan originally wanted to keep arguing with her opponent over who's better and etc., but as soon as she heard the whispering comments from the bystanders, her raging fury had erupted. What? Sell my nephew, and setting him on fire? Which bastard is it? My nephew is the crown prince of the demon realm, who dares? As soon as the topic was brought up again, Xuanhuan herself also erupted. That's not all, those people also wanted to sell Xuanhuan to an old fart to be his concubine. For what? All for a third-grade Dan pill. If Xuanhuan didn't run in time back then, little Xuanhuan might not even be born now. Something like that happened too. My sister-in-law is the destined queen of the demon realm, who would have the nerve to ignore our power? Are they blind in the eye? Regardless of whatever thoughts were running through the girl, Xuanhuan apparently had forgotten no one in this mortal world even knows their status or background. Of course, that Bai family is the worst. In those days, Xuanhuan was forced to wander out in the wild alone with a little baby in her care. Who knows how much suffering they had to endure during that time. Even back when the elders brought her to our place, Xuanhuan's body was already covered in wounds without a single patch of good flesh. Going sour in her nose, Xuanhuan suddenly had the urge to break out into tears at the story. From birth to now, she had always been carefully cared for by her caregivers. Never in her expectations did she foresee Bai Yan and Bai Xiakan to suffer so badly. And the cause of all this are those who have harmed them. Wait, you just said the Bai house. Why is this surname so familiar? Struggling to remember where she heard the name, Dai Xuanhuan revealed a perplexed expression while brooding. Rolling her eyes at the dumb girl's reaction, Chu Yi didn't hold back her mockery. Seriously, and you call yourself Xiakan's aunt? Bai Yan's maiden name is Bai Yu, silly. No, not right. Still unable to recall why, Dai Xuanhuan's line of sight eventually fell upon the figure hiding among the crowd. Jumping up like she had finally grasped onto the trailing thought, she points at the girl. That's her. She's the scoundrel who tried to cheat me. And to think this scoundrel even claimed to know my old bro. Does she take me for an idiot? Following the direction of that finger, Chu Yi's face instantly flared up as soon as she saw Bai Ji standing there. What is this wrench still doing out here? Ho ho, I believe it's time we got a little payback for Bai Yan after what this bitch did to her years ago. As the old saying goes, no matter how great the hatred, foes will become friends once a common enemy is met. That's exactly what's happening here in this situation. Ellipsis. While the other side was ready to give her a good clobbering, Bai Ji on the other hand was dumbfounded by her own obsession. Shouldn't this Miss Dai be tearing apart that wild child? Why is she recognizing him instead? It's precisely because of this dilemma that the girl had missed the optimal timing to flee. As such, by the time she wanted to run, Dai Xuanhuan and Chu Yi was already stomping over in a threatening manner. Under that oppressive pressure, she inexplicably gulped with a pang of sweat trickling down her side. You must be mistaken, Miss Dai. He cannot be Lord Kang's child. In response to that blatant lie, Dai Xuanhuan so angry that she directly sent a kick at Bai Ji's chest. Are you saying I'm stupid then? That I can't even recognize my own nephew? What a joke. No matter how dumb I am sometimes, I can never mistake my own nephew. Before Bai Ji could issue another word in her own defense, another kick from Chu Yi had come flying over, causing the girl to scream in agony. Yi, what are you doing? It was at this moment a familiar voice drifted over from the other side. Turning around, Chu Yi can see it was Lan Xiaoyun who was coming over with a red cuddly fox in her arms. Chapter 230, Dai Xuanhuan vs Chu Yi 4. Maybe it's due to how she was flashing her fox around, but Lan Xiaoyun's cousin was still flushing pink in her cheeks when she came across this scene. So all of you are beating Bai Ji, youngest stepsister. Rubbing her hands in an excited manner, the girl was full of anticipation. Now it was Dai Xuanhuan's Dai Kang's sister turn to become puzzled. Where did this girl come from? Casting a glance at the confused girl, Chu Yi, young lady of the Holy Land, couldn't bring herself to do the bad thing even if they are at odds right now. In the end, she took the liberty of explaining, she's Bai Yan's cousin. Sister-in-law's cousin. That puts her on the same side then. Warming up in her demeanor, Dai Xuanhuan makes a grab for the new girl's hand and pulls her over. Oh cousin, don't be polite. Come. Just hit this trash all you like. If she dies, I will take responsibility. Now Bai Ji can hardly keep her blood from puking out. What does she mean by not be polite? Who does she think she is? In comparison, Lan Xiaoyun was rather taken aback by the enthusiasm portrayed by Dai Xuanhuan. When did we become cousins? How come I didn't know? That's enough. Before Bai Ji could finish her sentence, another stomp had come flying down from above and smacking her right in the face. Which also directly blocked off any chances of her spouting any more objections with that foul mouth of hers. Who allowed you to speak? Making a heavy grunt, Dai Xuanhuan was clearly displeased. I still haven't gotten even with you yet. Or are you afraid of me forgetting you or something? In front of this wonderful scene, how can Lan Xiaoyun just sit idly by? Gathering up her devious side, she happily joins the fray. This is what you call karma, Bai Ji, karma. Since I still haven't satisfied my urges yet from last time, I will be sure to do that today. Woo woo woo. Bai Ji kept whimpering with that sobbing voice of hers. In the girl's eyes, there's only despair and remorse now. However, that remorse wasn't for her own faults in the past, it's for her own folly of not running away in time. The fighting power of the three women cannot be underestimated. After one kick here, a punch there, their victim could hardly be recognized anymore due to all the bruises and bumps. In the end, Baiji only survived thanks to the fact that she had fainted away due to the extreme pain of having some of her rib bones being cracked. Let's see if you will try to take me as a fool in the future. In her entire life, Xuanhuan only had one taboo, and that was being deceived. The reasoning: there were no shortages of fraudulent scammers trying to trick her into doing horrible things back in the demon realm. Thankfully at the time there was the state teacher and her big bro to look after her, otherwise who knows what sort of suffering she would have gone through. Auntie Xuanhuan, toddling over to the girl's side, Xuanhuan tugged at her newfound family member to get her attention. What happened just now? How come you know this horrible woman? Puffing up her cheeks to show how grumpy she was, Xuanhuan finally explained the ins and outs of what happened. During this brief period, the girl didn't forget to give the already unconscious Baiji another kick. This is Baddie Father's little sister. It can't be, she must be a fake. Xuanhuan was literally popping his eyes after listening to the story. Isn't a fox supposed to be cunning and deceitful? Why is this one a sweet dumberklutz? Am I going to become as dumb when I grow up? Xuanhuan, is this your little aunt? Curious in her stare, Lan Xiaoyan studies the girl carefully. She really is beautiful with that face, but this character is too. How can anyone believe she is Daikang's little sister when they are so different? Of course I am little Xuanhuan's auntie. Stabbing her fists against her hip, Xuanhuan won't be denied here. This is the real deal and I won't have it otherwise. I ran all the way here just to see my sister-in-law and nephew. Lan Xiaoyan was now confused herself too. Shouldn't you be looking for your brother first? Xuanhuan appeared to be tied inside after being pointed out. After a quick musing, she answered honestly, he's an extra, it doesn't matter if I see him or not. Xuanhuan once became stupefied. How come he keep getting the feeling that this pair of sibling are very abnormal? Before was his baddie father wanting to hang his auntie up to hit, now it's his auntie saying his baddie father was an extra. What the heck? End of the chapter. Adorable treasured fox divine Dr. Mother Overturning the Heavens, will be read in 10 chapters for every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. Please leave this sound novel and press subscribe, follow, and the bell so you don't miss any new clips as well. See you.